guide your master and apprentices using the mystic stones to build the towers of Arkhanos.
Hey guys, and thanks for joining us here again at Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're reviewing the game The Towers of Arkhanos from IDW and Creative Games Studios. This is from designers Daniel Alves and Enrico Cunha.
It's a 2 to 4 player dice game that takes about 30 minutes to play. IDW sent us this copy to check out, so let's take a look at how it's played.
To set up the game, place the 4 starting floor tiles in a triangle with one face down in the center.
Give each player their spellbook and meeples, and then you're ready to begin.
The first player will draw 1 die out of the bag for each player plus 1 and roll them.
They will choose one to set as a pillar on a tower by following the restrictions on the tower, like this one that requires red dice of different numbers.
They then gain the bonus and also place a meeple to mark their influence.
Some bonuses allow the player to activate a spell in their book by marking the matching number.
Active spells may be used on your turn to manipulate the die value.
Once everyone has placed a die, the leftover die is placed in the mana pool and the bag is passed to the next player who rolls new dice for the round.
If a floor is filled, it is scored and the players gain points for their influence. A new level is then placed on top of the dice pillar.
Play continues for the set number of rounds and the player with the most points at the end of the game wins. Arkhanos features a little bit of that Sagrada dice drafting feel where you're taking dice and then trying to find places on the board to work them into the right space and get a lot of points. In this one, you're sharing those dice boards and you're trying to make sure that you are able to walk away with the most points after each round. Some of the interesting things in the game include the fact that one of your meeples has a cool little star engraven in him, and he gives you additional influence in any space or board that he's on.
Yeah, so once that tower pillar is filled on that floor, it is then scored, and the 3 outside are worth more points than the center because they have a very specific type of die that has to be placed there. The center is wild, so if you can't place with using a spell or what's available, you can always go in the center, but it is scored lower. So that master meeple that Will is talking about is worth 2 influence, and all your other meeples are worth 1. So it's a little easier to win that tower if you have used your master.
As you start to build throughout the game, those towers will get taller as more pieces come out on the board, and then that means some of those bonuses are going to become more valuable in the game. One of the third bonus spot on each of the boards is that you collect points based on whatever level you're in. So for the first 2 rounds of the game, nobody's really interested in those spots, but then as you get into levels 4 and 5 and you're getting higher, everybody's wanting to get on that spot first, which is a nice change in the pace of the game because it's still the exact same tile. You're still, playing from that same pool, but things change based on how much attention that one tower has been given throughout the course of the game.
There is a little strategy involved in how and when to use your spells. If you just fill up your board and save them, there may become a time down the road where you are able to get a spell, but you already have that slot filled, and so you don't get anything for it then. And you can use as many as you want on your turn, and they're one-time use. So you may have a scenario where you get to use 2 different spells to manipulate a die that doesn't fit anywhere and make it fit somewhere. And then you can see what tower is going to be placed out next. The stack is there face up. So that may influence what comes out next and how you manipulate those dice. Because if you can score something before it gets to the next player's turn, you may leave them with stuff that doesn't fit well.
Right, definitely has some potential for some hate drafting as you pick the die that leaves everybody else with stuff that's unusable, especially when you know what the next tile is that's coming out. I really enjoyed the table presence of this one. It's kind of a smaller game, but just that building up portion of it is really cool. You've got the dice holding it as the pillars, which looks really neat. The card art is nice. The spell board is very easy to read and consume, which is nice. Overall, has a good feel. It plays in about 30 minutes, so it's pretty quick. Not a lot of setup time. Like, it's a really just easy one to jump into. Rules make sense, but because everything changes every time, being the most strategic about where everything goes out on the board does give it some stuff to chew on as you're taking your turns and you're working through the game.
Yeah, one other option that you do have is one of those spaces on the tower. It has the meeple symbol, and you can place your die there to score, but then you can place one in your spell book, or you have the option to place one of your meeples on another tower as the pillar. So that one will still count towards influence, but then when the new space comes out with the floor, your meeple will stay there as the pillar. So you do lose that meeple for the rest of the game. But if you're strategic in how you place your meeples, you may do well in gaining the points for that instead of placing it on your spellbook.
Yep, a couple little interesting fine-tuned rules in there that definitely give you some interesting choices to make. If Arkhanos sounds like something you'd be interested in, definitely check it out from IDW Games. And as always, thanks so much for watching, liking, and subscribing here at
It's from designers Daniel Alves and something else.
One more person.
This is a Kickstarter that they bought out.
Kickstarter, making it in the big leagues.
Forgot to
Magic!